So good morning, Chile, and good morning, the Netherlands. Good morning from all over the world. My name is Stephanie Schuitenmaker. I work for Holland Circular Hotspot. And today I will be your webinar moderator. During the next 75 minutes, you will get an idea of how the Netherlands and Chile can mutually benefit from collaboration in the field of circular economy in the agriculture sector. And it is quite special, I think, today, because this is actually, this webinar is actually part of a bigger trade mission that we're organizing between Chile and the Netherlands. And this is one of a series of webinars. We will also have webinars on water management and plastics in the upcoming days. And in the beginning of 2021, there will be a follow-up as matchmaking. I will, again, for people who joined, please select your language, English or Spanish, so everyone can understand me. During the webinar, please feel free to ask your questions at any time. We will try to answer them already in the Q&A section during the webinar, and we will also answer a couple of questions in the Q&A a moment later today in the program. The chat can be used for communication, comments, and to connect. Okay, so today I will show you quickly what we're going to talk about. We will have an official welcome by the ambassador of the Netherlands for Chile, and he will open this first edition of the webinar series in the Trade Mission. We will talk about opportunities and challenges for circular Chilean agriculture. We will talk about what's happening today already. You got some insights from circular agriculture and applied research in the Netherlands from the Wageningen University. And we will discuss the fit of Dutch circular solutions for Chilean challenges and in the local context. Afterwards, we will show you some Dutch showcases about circular economy in practice that's happening today already. And we will have a Q&A and some closing words and next steps. Okay, for an official and formal opening and words of welcome, I will now give the floor to the ambassador of the Netherlands for Chile, Harman Idema. Welcome, Harman, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Stephanie, and thanks for all the partners who have been working together with us to make this series of 3 webinars on circular economy possible. One on water, one on agriculture, and one on plastics. Now, this is not only a series of webinars, this is also a virtual trade missions. Because of Corona, we cannot do this in a physical way, in a presencial way, as they say in Spanish. So it is our first virtual trade mission we are organizing with participations of many Chilean and Dutch companies. So very welcome on this virtual trade missions. You don't have to take the time to travel. You don't have the jet lag, and you don't have to emit so many CO2 emissions, which in case of the virtual circular economy is actually something very positive, isn't it? I will give you a very short introduction to Chile, and then I'll hand over to the more specialized presentations on circular economy and agriculture. If we can go to the next slide, I will first give you a Chile at a very fast glance. In terms of size of people, it's about the same as the Netherlands, 18.4 million inhabitants. It's about 27 times the size of the Netherlands. It's a very long country with Argentina on one side and the ocean on the other side. As a government, it is a presidential republic with a multi-party system. It is the richest country, together with Panama, of Latin America. It is a member of the OECD, just like Colombia in South America. And because it is enclosed between the ocean and the mountain range towards Argentina, you do get a bit of a feel of Chile as an island. It is not such a tropical country. It is more of a country with a lot of European descendants. Let's go to the next slide. It is not only a very stable country, it has also a very open and export-oriented economy, just like the Netherlands. It has a very solid macroeconomic policy. The last decades, one of the fastest growing economies. The poverty, and this has actually been a great achievement by the Chileans, has been going down a lot over the last, I'd say 15 to 20 years, even though there is still a lot of inequality, which is very common in Latin America. And Chile, and that is a difference with some of the other countries, the ease of doing business rankings, anti-corruption rankings, Chile scores very well relatively. And actually, if you look at ease of doing business ranking, Chile is not that far from the Netherlands. In terms of unemployment, this was 7% in 2019. Of course, with the Corona pandemic, this is going up. Just like actually the economic growth went down about 5 to 6% this year, but is predicted to go up next year also about 5 or 6%. So that will hopefully, if the pandemic, if we get the vaccination, we go back to some kind of normal, this will also increase economic growth significantly next year. Let's go to the next slide. Foreign direct investment. The Netherlands is the 4th largest investor in Chile after the US, Canada, and Spain. And if you look where Chile actually sends its exports, you can see the red part is Asia. The main part goes to Asia, then the United States, and then Europe. And within Europe, Holland is the 2nd largest destination. A lot of things, of course, a lot of products come in through Rotterdam. Let's go to the next slide. Let me talk a little bit about climate change, because that is an important issue for Chile as well. Just like the Netherlands, Chile is in the top 10 countries who are most vulnerable to climate change. It has a very ambitious climate policy. It aspires to be climate neutral by 2050. Together with the Netherlands, Chile forms part of a group that pushes for higher ambition in the implementation of the Paris Agreement. And actually, circular economy has been a very personal priority of President Piñera. He sees the advantages of both working for the environment for lower CO2 emissions and seeing a new business model. And despite of the COVID-related economic recession, Chile has strengthened its climate ambition. So that's actually very good to see. Let's go to the next slide. Then let's look more specifically at agriculture. Chile is an important agricultural exporter. As we saw, main exports go to Asia and the US in terms of agricultural exports. Actually, the main export is in mining, and second is agriculture. And it's basically fresh fruits, wine, cellulose, and salmon, which are the main agricultural export products. But also tulips. And for the Dutch people looking at this picture, they are probably look like, what is this? But these are the tulip fields that you see in October in Chile with the volcanoes like the Osorno in the background. And it's a beautiful picture. And I always compare it with the tulip fields with the windmill in the background. And so it gives really a feeling of something that we have in common with the Chileans. Circular economy and circular agriculture are growing priorities of the Prime Minister, but also of Minister Walker for Agriculture. Circular agriculture is still incipient, it's still a niche, and this is where they look at the Netherlands as an example, as an experience they can learn from. And the Netherlands has had a very good relationship with Chilean agriculture. We've supported Chilean efforts for electronic certification. We have a long-standing cooperation with Chile. So then I come to my last slide, and then I will end my presentation. I just want to talk to you a little bit about what kind of support we can give to Dutch companies. From a Dutch embassy perspective in Chile, we focus on water, agriculture, ports and logistics, circular economy, and resilient cities, including renewable energy and green hydrogen. So agriculture, circular economy are two of our main priorities. We do a lot of Netherlands branding. We show them what Netherlands can do. We contribute to create a level playing field so that international companies get the same treatment as local companies. We do trade missions, we do sector studies, we do anything that you need us to do for you. We want to work with you to be able to do more business in Chile. And I'm talking to the Dutch companies specifically now. There is a Holland House, which was recently set up. It's like a Chamber of Commerce 2.0. We work closely with them, and they are actually working with us also to set up the e-embassy. If you go to the website nlinchile.com, this is a new platform combining all kinds of trade and consular information. This is something that I think is very interesting to look at if you want to know more about doing business in Chile. You see two email addresses at the bottom of the sheet. This will help you if you want to get in touch with us. So with this, I like to end my presentation, my introduction to Chile. I hope you not only saw the words, but also saw the beautiful picture. Chile is a wonderful country to visit. It's a great country to do business with. If you want to start in Latin America, Chile is the place to start, I would say. I'm not only saying that because I'm the ambassador of Chile. So thank you very much. I'm giving the word back to Stephanie. And Freek, thank you for joining us in this great webinar.
Thank you, Harman. Thank you for your warm welcome, your introduction of this virtual mission, and very good to see that you're already thinking in opportunities because that's what the webinar all about today. Well, my very inspiring colleague, Director of Holland Circular Hotspot and true advocate for international collaboration on the circular economy, Mr. Freek van Eijk, will introduce Holland Circular Hotspot a bit and give you some more context on circular economy approaches for agri-food, how agri-food can benefit Chile. Freek, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you, Mr. Ambassador. It's a great pleasure to be with you. Next slide, please. And the next slide again. So I have probably one of the nicest jobs in the Netherlands. I'm the director of Holland Circular Hotspot. And we want to make circular economy happen at the international level because it makes no sense to make a circular island of the Netherlands if the world goes down the drain. We're an open economy, just like Chile. And we export a lot, just like Chile. So we need the world to be circular. We need Chile to be circular. And we do that by sharing best practices of businesses, the Insight of Knowledge Institute, and the hard-learned lessons from government. Next, please. Now, let me tell me a little bit more about our country, the Netherlands. It shouldn't exist. We should have been flooded a long time ago. We live in a very vulnerable delta, but that had some advantages as well, because it made us very collaborative. We had to work together to keep our feet dry. We had to keep our cities livable and economy viable, densely populated, early industrialized. It made us innovative. And circular economy for us makes sense because if you don't have resources, it makes sense to keep all resources in the loop as long as possible. Well, one of the things that brought it to us that we are very pragmatic. It's learning by doing. And if you learn by doing, either you win or you learn. There's not such things as failure. It's learn fast, fail fast. And it brought us that we're now the second largest food exporter in the world. Next slide, please. And talking about food. Now that's an interesting market segments because we're with 7 billion people. We produce food for 10 billion people, 3 billion, for 3 billion people the food is lost, 1 billion people are hungry, and 2 billion people are probably overweight. To feed the world in 2050, we more or less have to double food production. It's 25% roughly of greenhouse gas emissions. So it's a serious challenge that we have there. Next one, please. But there is hope as well, and the hope is in circular economy. By going circular, we can halve more or less the greenhouse gas emissions of the agro-food chain. There are solutions everywhere, from the beginning of the value chain all the way to the end of the value chain. We can reduce food waste during agriculture, during transport, at household level. We can valorize organic residues, but we can also work on other things like sustainable diets by finding alternatives for animal proteins. Let me elaborate a little bit more on the next slide, where I can show you the Next slide, please. Where we can see how livestock and crops and manure are all interrelated in a circular system. If you look on your left at the green field, let's talk about crops. Only 30% of crops are suitable for human consumption. So we can use the remainder basically for the food in, let's say, and the residuals flows from agriculture and food industry to feed the animals. And if you are going to graze livestock, let's do that on land which is unsuitable for food production. And when we're dealing with a huge amount of manure that livestock produces, uses as a source for the soil, that it's fertile, healthy, and improves the crop yield. Like that, it's circular. You will hear more today in the presentation from Wageningen. Next, please. Now let's focus on Chilean agro-food. First thing is economy. It's very important for Chile. It's a large part of their exports. It has a strategic counter season with the USA and Europe. It's also a certain urgency because there's a climate impact which attacks the agro-food chain heavily. And then I'm talking about water in the north, in the middle. Opportunities are here for new adapted crops that can resist droughts, for instance, better. It's also about applying intelligence and sensoring and using drip irrigation. But it's also about reducing loss in agro-food everywhere in the value chain. So if you think about simple solutions like composting, digestion, from food to feed for animals, but why not be more ambitious? If you see an orange peel, if you make your orange juice and you have the peel, what do you see? Do you see orange? Do you see waste, organic waste that you have to dispose of as a cost? Or do you think, I see here textiles, perfumes, and that's the way you should think. You should think from a waste to a value perspective. That's circular economy all about. And I think there is a huge momentum. We have all been in lockdown. It has caused a reappreciation for healthy food. And that means that consumers demand this. Also, the big supermarkets in the Netherlands see this trend and are anticipating on it. That's an opportunity for Chile as well. And talking about momentum, next slide, please. If I look at COVID-19, I cannot say that circular economy has become more urgent. It has always been urgent and time is running up, but the awareness has increased significantly. We cannot keep on going like we're doing. We have to build back better. So this is a unique momentum also for Chile to, let's say, to transfer the agro-food system and to adopt more circular economy practices in it. So we like to walk with you down this way. We are an extremely efficient agricultural country, and we're now also learning our way to become more and more circular. And we'd like to share our lessons with us. In circular economy, it's not about copyright, it's also about right to copy. Back to the moderator. Thank you.
Thank you, Freek. Thank you for this insight in how circular economy can already offer some opportunities and thinking in opportunities. So now we've had this sneak peek of how this can benefit Chile, and to get an idea more of the local context, Brenda de Swart and Freek van Eijk will elaborate on challenges Chile faces, but also on relevant perspectives for entrepreneurs. Brenda is Manager of Sustainable and Corporate Communications of Rabobank in Chile and Peru. And for the ones who don't know, Rabobank is a cooperative bank of Dutch origin focused on financing the agro-food sector. So welcome, Brenda. Can we hear Brenda and see Brenda?
I can see myself.
Hi.
Do you hear me as well?
Yes, for you, good morning. So today we're talking about circular economy, sustainability in Chilean agriculture. Can you, in 2-3 sentences, explain what the current situation looks like and what challenges you see? I don't think you can in 2-3, but
yeah, maybe a few more sentences. Yeah. No, I think if you look at the agricultural sector in Chile, then there is we have to make a difference between small and medium farmers and big farmers. And the big or the larger farmers are those who are responsible for the 16.5% of most of the export of agricultural products that Freek mentioned. So there, if you look at the larger farmers, we have seen a lot of a lot of advances in the last year, mostly driven by markets to which they export, which are requiring higher sustainability requirements of the products. It's also cost reduction driven. There we see that that a lot of bigger companies have invested in certain sustainable practices to lower the cost. For example, energy is a good example here. And then the other is mostly event driven, and it was already mentioned by Harman as well. The whole climate change is affecting Chile heavily. There's a lot of drought. So in these larger farmers, we see that they have invested highly in technology related to water. So drip irrigation is very normal with these players. And then if you look at the smaller farmers, there it's a different ball game, because they are quite small. Most of the time they don't have a lot to invest in technology innovation, let alone circular economy practices. So I think that is a little bit the landscape that we are looking at. And the challenges that I see, I'm going to close a window, one moment. Yeah, the challenges that my neighbors started to cut the grass, so sorry for that. The challenges that I see is again this smallholder, medium-sized farmers that lack access to finance to invest in this in innovation, sustainability that's related to circular economy. Another challenge that I see is that there is, for the agriculture sector, there is not a clear strategy, not on national level, on circular economy, and also not on sector, regional, or even a branch level. And I think that's very relevant. And there maybe the Netherlands is a good example. How can you work with all the players in this ecosystem of circular economy? How can you work on a clear strategy, long-term, translate that in a roadmap, and work together with all relevant partners, so public sector, private sector, and definitely also the academic world. And then maybe to end, another challenge that I see is the lack of data. There's not a lot of data available. So there's a huge challenge to improve there. For example, there are very few players in the agriculture sector that are measuring at this moment their water footprint or their CO2 emissions. So it's difficult if you don't know the real situation. It's difficult to make measurements, and that is especially for agriculture. Most of that is in the regions, and there's a lack of players in the ecosystem of circular economy that provides solutions. So there I see a lot of opportunities for the local development and innovation, but definitely also on the short term for foreign players who can offer solutions that have already been tested abroad, for example, in the Netherlands.
Okay, thank you, Brenda. So I hear you say that there's already some movement, but I also hear you that there are quite some challenges to overcome for this transition to a circular economy in the agriculture sector. Freek, if you look at these challenges through the eyes of a Dutch CE entrepreneur, how would you react?
Well, I tend to be positive, even if on the floor that doesn't really seem visible immediately, because first of all, there is awareness, lots of awareness on the importance of agro-food. There's an awareness on climate change. Chile has the ambition to be climate neutral. Chile has a circular economy agricultural roadmap, but it has to be focused, and it has to be channeled into action, and it takes some time. But compared to lots of other countries I've seen on the globe, Chile is further down this trajectory than lots of others. Brenda mentioned the 7% big companies and the 93% very small companies. Well, let me make the comparison with mobility. You know, we all know that a car only drives 6% of its time, and it's standing idle 49 to 94% of its time. Well, what do? You focus all your time on making the car more efficient to drive 6%, or you focus on the 94%. I think with agriculture here, it's the same. let's focus on the 93% small companies. If we were to collaborate them, if they make cooperations with them, with shared facilities, maybe even facilities as a service for cooling, for sensoring, then I think we could do a lot by knowledge sharing, circular economy and sustainable practices, maybe by digital marketing. And digital marketing, I'm talking about people in Europe, they like storytelling, they like local sustainability, the old practices. So if we help these small companies to present themselves for regional products, I think we go a lot. It's about valorization of residues, and valorization of residues is not so difficult. It's low-hanging fruit. Only sometimes you need some more volume to find a good market. And by working together, you can do that. Collaboration in general means less risks because you're more aware. You tend to communicate with each other. And we can work together on more efficiency. Let's say water use, pesticides, energy, using smart IT. Digitization is here to stay. So I tend to be positive if I look about the awareness which has been reached, the urgency there is to act, and let's say it's about bringing people together and collaborating. And maybe we can learn also from Rabobank, for instance. We're very good in cooperatives. So back to you, Stephanie.
Yes, thank you, Freek. So that sounds like circular economy could indeed offer some interesting opportunities. But Brenda, from your perspective, what do you feel that is necessary for further development?
Now, first I want to react on something Freek said, because he's talking about collaboration, and I think that's really relevant when we talk about this big percentage of smaller farmers. And collaboration is one of the three main pillars of the Chilean Ministry of Agriculture, and they already have several programs that are focused on collaborating with all different players on technology and innovation, with some really good successes. So there are definitely opportunities there. Yeah, what I already mentioned is that I think a good strategy, develop a good strategy, make an analysis on the long term, not on the short term, on what is needed in the long term to remain the competitive level of the agricultural sector of Chile. Once you have clear where you have to go, then develop a roadmap on sector level, on branch level, on regional level, and start getting all relevant players to work together. I think that's one. And also look abroad on what is already being done. And then I want to give an example within the Netherlands, where you have for example, the agro-top sector, where players are working together, where the University of Wageningen, and I know they're gonna present something later, they have great examples on how they work together with private companies on developing an ecosystem on circular economy, and also on the level of Ministry of Agriculture in the Netherlands. Our complete focus is on kringlooplandbouw. I'm not sure if their circular economy is the right word. I actually don't know the translation in Spanish of kringlooplandbouw, but maybe somebody can help me later with that word. And then there's already a lot of experience on how you make this roadmap, how you involve different players. And I think also, and that is to finalize, that different ministries in Chile are working on the circular economy strategy and roadmap. And I think once there's more clarity on what they want to achieve and how, that it also has to come with the right public instruments, for example, incentives or regulation. I think that's still lacking a bit.
Okay, thank you, Brenda. Thank you for this analysis. Very helpful, I think. Because of the time, we have to move quickly. Freek, to close the discussion, why is now the time to get started, and how to start?
Well, if you wait for the perfect moment that all regulation is in place and everybody's talking to each other, then probably we are already doomed. If we did like that in the Netherlands, we would be flooded a long time ago. And I think Chile has to act now if it wants to preserve its wonderful agro-food sector. So business as usual is not an option. And I think be like the Dutch, learning by doing, be pragmatic, start now, learn fast, fail fast. it's either you win or you learn, and then you can reapply it and be successful. I think the momentum from COVID-19 gives us an opportunity to let's say accelerate the change. I think that the Netherlands can support here. For us, Chile is probably the dream country within Latin America. It's a rich country, it's OECD country, open economy. We have it scores high on the innovation index. Very good investor relationships between us. There is a need and there is a vision. Climate neutral. So for me, this sounds not like a quick hit and run relation between the Netherlands and Chile. This really sounds like a long-term, mutual, profitable relationship. So let's walk down that road together. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Brenda and Freek. Well, clearly challenges exist, but momentum is here, and first movers do have the biggest opportunities. I want to go to the next slide. Let me see if I can do it. Yes, because now, of course, we want to know what is actually happening already in Chile. Well, Daniela Acuña, Head of Sustainable Production Systems in the Department of Sustainability and Climate Change, will take us into the research that was done on current circular economy in the agriculture. She was in charge of the study, and she's part of the Strategic Committee on Circular Economy Roadmap of Chile. So please, Daniela, the floor is yours.
Muchas gracias, Stephanie.
Thank you very much, Stephanie. I hope that you can hear me very well. First of all, I would like to thank the Embassy of the Netherlands and Holland Circular Hotspot for the possibility to participate in this seminar. And the idea is to comment a bit from the Chilean Ministry of Agriculture point of view, how we look at circular economy in this sector and what are the challenges and opportunities that we find. The following slide, please. First of all, to give a context, I would like to mention that the Ministry of Agriculture, within its strategy, has seen that it has to stimulate a sustainable agricultural sector, and sustainable is understood a sector that deals with its economic, social, and environmental aspects. Next slide. The idea of this job is to do this from collaborative construction. So we want to involve the public sector, not only the Ministry of Agriculture, but other ministries and the private sector and different entities that represent the producers in Chile, and the civil society and academia. So the ministry has defined 4 large working areas in this administration. Associativity is one of them, rural development is another one, sustainability is a 3rd pillar, and modernization the 4th. So sustainability is part of the working areas of the Ministry of Agriculture today, and as such, next slide please. From agricultural studies, we started to visualize circular economy or circular agriculture as a tool, as an instrument to make progress towards a sustainable agriculture. Why? Because it enables us to use efficiently other resources, to be more productive, but also because it generates an impact at territorial level and local development, which are very in line with rural development that was mentioned, which is one of the lines to work on in the ministry, but also the circular economy can give an answer to the requirements of the consumers that are more conscious every day. So this way we can also differentiate and accelerate markets that have these requirements for our products. Next slide, please. Well, in 2019, we performed a study, which is some kind of state-of-the-art of the sector in Chile, agro-food sector in Chile. The study was attended by ODEPA and was performed by UC Davis in Chile. I think in the summary of the study, there will be given links on this. And the study was based on analyzing 5 sectors of national agriculture: fruit, horticulture, wine, cereals, and livestock. And the interesting thing is that more than 220 initiatives were raised that were related to circular economy, executed by different players in the sector, private stakeholders and public stakeholders, and also the universities. So these initiatives, next slide please, enabled us to put some order in the situation of circular agriculture in Chile, basing on principles of circular economy by the European Union. So we organize the information in a way that it's more adapted to the Chilean reality, and these 3 principles were identified. First is planning to use resources. Second is maximize the use of materials at any time, and third is to preserve and improve natural culture. So these principles defined, of course, different strategies of circularity, and the initiatives that were identified in the study, we cataloged them in what strategy and what principle they belong to. So this is necessary to know where we are at this moment in the sector in terms of circular agriculture. Next slide, please. One back, yes. Thank you. It's interesting, there are many initiatives that address more than one principle or more than one strategy. That's why the numbers are not very exact, but what is interesting here and relevant is that the large majority of the initiatives, 102 initiatives, are focused on valuing and revaluing secondary materials or waste generated in the agriculture sector. There are different ways of revaluation, but that's one of the main strategies that are being addressed. And the other is recycling. At principle 1 level, 70 of the initiatives that were identified, a large part of these initiatives are focused on reducing the use of materials, reduction of inputs, and to be more efficient in resources. And finally, in principle 3, which is preserving and improving natural capital, 56 initiatives were focused on regeneration of natural resources, soil, be it biological actors, players, and the different practices that exist to regenerate natural capital that are in line with circular economy. Next slide, please. And in that sense, this study enabled us to identify challenges and opportunities for circular economy in Chile, and this is in line with what the previous speakers mentioned. First, there are great opportunities to make new business models from taking certain waste and give it added value and generate functional ingredients on new products based on what was considered waste at some point. Also, in terms of efficient use of resources, anything that has to do with water, as mentioned before, is a great opportunity, and it's a challenge at the same time. But not only water, also packaging, to make efficient use of these materials and be responsible for, take responsibility for eliminating this revaluation of these products. We see opportunities because there are many technologies that already exist and that are helpful in circular agriculture. And now the challenge maybe here is the option of the technologies, the transfer, like Brenda mentioned. How does this get to the smaller farmers in terms of technological capacity and financing? But also how the extension services, the accessories, and the technical advisors can transfer that knowledge and those technologies to the farmers. Well, one of the great opportunities that we see of circular agriculture is, of course, regeneration of natural capital, how we can look at this in terms of regeneration of soils, reduction of carbon, how do we improve the environment, and we all to contribute to agriculture that can be maintained on the long term. And finally, another great opportunity.
Sorry to interrupt you. Can you please round it up because of the time? Thank you very much.
Ok. Ningún problema.
Okay, no problema. Basically, the opportunities and the challenges I think have been mentioned. We are very much in line with what has been said before. Coordination, collaboration, information is a challenge as well because we're working on that. The awareness raising and development of capacities. And just to finalize the last slide, could you go to the last slide, please? This, how do we continue? I think the roadmap of circular economy may not be specific for agriculture, but we have been participating in its development, and it will define how we can continue towards 2040 in this road towards circular economy. That would be my presentation, just on time, I think. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Daniela. Thank you for these insights. I have to proceed quickly to the next presentation. So from the local context in Chile, I want to take you to the circular agriculture and applied research in the Netherlands. For this, we have Ria Hulsman. She's a regional manager in Latin America and the Caribbean, working for the Wageningen University and Research. And she has over 10 years of working experience in South America. She is the person to be on contact with for interested parties from Latin America. So Ria, I would like to ask you to share your screen so you can start your presentation. So I will stop mine for a second. Yes, perfectly.
Can you see my screen now?
No, it's now in presenter mode.
Okay, just wait.
Yes, now it's perfect.
Sí. Muchas gracias a la embajada y a las...
Thank you, the embassy and the other parties in Chile. I will do my presentation in Chile, especially for the public in Chile. My presentation is about circular agriculture, and thanks to my colleagues as well here at the University and Research of Wageningen. I've prepared this presentation for you to be able to understand agriculture in the Netherlands and how we've got to the circular agriculture. It's interesting to know what happened after the Second World War. This Sir Sico Mansell was appointed minister in 1945 with the sole mission to take away hunger in the Dutch population in that year. So he was very executive, was very efficient. He organized an exchange program of land. He started with automation and specialization of agriculture. So here in the orange line, we can see the numbers of farms has gone down a lot. That specialization, and also with the help of fertilization and chemical import of animal food. It has doubled or even tripled the number of animals in the Netherlands, and also tripled the production per hectare of some agricultural products. As we can see here, this has led us to such an intensive agriculture that we have even come to the point that we have to think about this, and the minister did about the climate change and about the fact that the society already was requiring and demanding an adjustment because of the excessive greenhouse gas emissions. So in 2018, the Ministry of Agriculture, Nature and Food Quality launched a program on agricultural agriculture, and that's the mission of our government. So what is circular agriculture? The circular concept started in 2016 when an article of some academicians of the university in Helsinki talked about the transition towards a circular economy in the food system. And the most important here is the focus especially on the nutrients flow. So when we talk about circular agriculture, we see that soil is a treasure. This is where the nutrients are, this is where the earth is, and through cultivation and photosynthesis, we obtain the products for human food. And what is not useful is taken to the animal sector that can then come back and bring back products to the food system. So this is what is basic in circular agriculture, to maintain the circles in the food system, and if it's not for human consumption, we can give it to animals so that animal protein can get back into the food system. And where we really have no way of using the nutrients anymore, of the resources, we convert this into products or non-food products. So the three principles that circular agriculture has are the following. The soil we use for agriculture is to produce primarily vegetal biomass for human food. And second is the waste that is generated by growing and producing food. We have to take that back into the food system. And what we cannot eat as human beings, we will give it to the animals. And the third principle is animals in a circular system are there basically to transform the waste in human food. So in the following three slides, I will explain a bit about these three principles. One, on that how we as a university have an experimental farm that we made the farm of the future, and the idea is to integrate practical practices and mechanisms of agroecology with high-level technology. So we can hear several aspects of agriculture, agroecology, and we see this as buttons with which we can adjust and optimize production under the principles of circular agriculture. One, for example, is to take care of a landscape and the outskirts or the borders of the land. The other thing also is arable, to work on the arable lands. And what's also interesting is strip growing, so to avoid that some pests won't go from one area to the other, because there is a natural barrier. And here in this picture we can see the use of a lane with robots, and that cart will constantly go on a same lane. That machine goes on the same lane to avoid a compacting of the soil. And this robotization has sensors and has cameras to be able to apply, if necessary, pesticides, or herbicides, but only where they see that there really is a plague or some weed. That is the future farm, the farm of the future. We work in the region a lot with the farmers on the main challenges that the growers have faced, especially those that are not organic, that were used to fumigating. They see as a main problem that they cannot do this anymore because there is the risk that it goes, fumigation goes to the next step. So that is an observation from the growers. The other observation is that this lane is 3 meters wide, and to go from one parcel to the other, it's very difficult to do this on the highways because you can't really behave. You can't really move a machine like that on the road. Following slide is about how we see the waste in the food system here at Wageningen Research. We do 3 things. We look at the optimization of the agro-food system and the chain with high-tech focus. How do we grow? What's the logistics, and how is storage? So first, we avoid to have losses. That's this line. This line has to be optimized. The second is extending the applications of the products or intermediate products to make new food that is more healthy and more sustainable, and to evaluate the lateral flows even more towards high value products and non-food products. So that's what that was about. And then the third focus is on advanced biorefinery. And here we process flows in the agricultural sector that we cannot get back into the food system, and that can be useful for other sectors, for example, the chemical sector or material sector.
Ria, I'm very sorry to interrupt you. Thank you for this very interesting story, but is it possible that I ask you one question that we got in the chat for you, and then go further to the next speaker?
Yes, please.
Angelica Para asks, oh, now it's gone. Something happened. Just a second. Okay, so livestock generates CO2 and it contributes to global warming. And in the Dutch experience, how should we approach this?
Yeah, that was actually my second slide. So I will try to come back to this second slide if you allow me, because
okay.
Voy a hacer en español. Sí, el rol del
in Spanish, yes, the role of the animal, like I explained, is to consume only waste of the agricultural sector, which means that at this moment we are producing 70% of soil for pasturing of animals and to produce animal food. We have to readjust that balance. So we have to look for ways of only feeding the animals with waste of the agricultural sector. In the Netherlands, this means that we have to lower the number of animals that we have at this moment in the Netherlands to be able to look for this and adjust this balance in agriculture. And that means for the consumer that they need to consume less meat, because if it says that we have to move from 9 to 13 grams, we have to find a balance between the number, the amount of waste and the amount of waste of the agricultural sector and animal production. If we start to eat more meat, then we have to grow animal food on land that could serve for production of human food.
Thank you.
That would be the answer.
Thank you very much, Ria, for these insights. Let me see. Leontine Crisson, Agricultural Counselor for Argentina, Chile, Paraguay, and Uruguay, and Francisco Rosier, Innovation Director at Transforma Alimentos. They are happy to reflect a bit on the story you just told. And they can tell us a little bit more about the fit of circular solutions for Chilean challenges. So, Francisco and Leontine, we have to keep it short and snappy. We know that already, but we're quite delayed. Just in short, maybe, looking at Ria's insights, Leontine, how does the Dutch approach of circular agriculture fit in the Chilean context? I'm not sure.
Sorry.
Sorry, no, I wasn't. I didn't see you. Thank you. Yes, please.
Okay. Good morning. Good afternoon, everybody. Yes, thanks very much, Stephanie. I think that throughout the presentations, we've been able to see that actually the approach of circular agriculture that we promote from the Netherlands, and that is our national policy, is actually very well fit in Chile. We've seen that the economies are alike. There are very conscious governments that contribute also to reducing carbon footprint, etc. And I think also on a more practical and policy level, we have seen that the studies have already shown that there are many initiatives going on in Chile. And I think in that respect, there's a very good match. And we could also take up some of the challenges that we have seen in working with groups of smaller producers, for instance, applying particular technology to improve circularity within the agro-food system. And I think, for instance, validation of residual flows, more efficient use of particular natural resources, and more integral and I would say more collaborative solutions, including both government, the private sector producers, as well as knowledge institutions, would be very, very much a possibility for Chile when it comes to circular agricultural approaches. So we're happy to collaborate.
So Francisco Rosier is Innovation Director for Transforma Alimentos. That's the National Strategic Food Program in Chile. And he has close ties with the Netherlands and Wageningen University, where he lived and worked for 8 years. So Francisco, if you look at this, what Leontine just said, and the story about the circular agriculture, in what areas would you see opportunity for collaboration, or maybe even increased collaboration?
Hi, and hello everybody. I would like to take the ball a little bit to the field of the agro industry, because we have talked a lot about agriculture and livestock here during this morning, but not so much about the agro-industrial products, which Chile also produces a lot. I would like to mention overall to the Dutch part is that here in Chile, one of the big associations of companies, Chile Alimentos, has been working for what, 15, 16 years now on reducing their emissions through something that we call the agreements for clean production. And these agreements, all in the realm of agro-industry, had been moving from trying to avoid pollution, to reduce what you cannot avoid, to dispose in the right way. And if you notice that, well, that's not very circular, right? It's only going towards disposition. So their main issue now, for example, is the use of the mud resulting from treating wastewater. And but that's about to change, because now they are working on their fourth agreement for clean production. And in that agreement, one of the interesting things that they included is to work towards valorization of the byproducts, especially towards new products, and not so much into feed or composting, for example. And that's something very, very new and that I was missing a lot. If you forgive me for saying this, I think that the interesting things will start happening now. When I arrived 5 years ago here back to Chile, after seeing all the examples in the Netherlands, I was missing all this biorefinery thing going on here. And actually, with this new agreement that 33 production sites are planning to join, we will have a better field to play with valorization, real valorization of byproducts here in Chile. Having said that, well, in Transforma we have done some benchmarking work comparing what Chile exports and what other food producers, including the Netherlands, export. And we noticed something a bit worrying, that our exports palette has been mostly the same, almost exactly the same for the last 20 years, which had been a very good 20 years. We had tripled in those 20 years the value of the food exports that we had. But we want to diversify that, and we want to bring more knowledge into that diversification. And so I would say that there are opportunities first on what we're already good at, and the ambassador and the rest of the participants have mentioned some. We do export a lot of salmon and wine and some agro-industrial products. Also thinking in, for example, olive oil. Those things will only keep on growing because they have a big demand in the world. So to valorize byproducts from those industries will stay an opportunity. But we have also asked the opposite question in Transforma. What could Chile export in the future and that we don't export now? And that's where new opportunities will open. Again, thinking in olive oil, because it's something that it's still, it's not small in Chile, but it can be much bigger. Well, only 12% of all the biomass that you harvest to make olive oil goes into olive oil. So there you have a huge amount of biomass full of, you name it, antioxidants and so on, that can be further processed into added value products. Other points of attention would be, for example, I think we do have an opportunity with dairy. So far, we have been looking too much to the internal market only in dairy and other sectors. And if we open up to be a dairy producer for the world, probably we have advantages. The ambassador already mentioned Chile is 27 times larger than the Netherlands, right? So it's not a surface problem. It's not a grazing area problem. I think there will be opportunities in horticultural production. If we change our way of producing from extensive crops to producing them in greenhouses, they don't have to be super high-tech greenhouses. You know, I remember some calculations of some years ago, and greenhouses that cost only 10% more than what we currently invest in them could have the same production than in the Netherlands, simply because we have so much irradiation here, and such good temperatures. So I will say that, Stephanie, that there are many opportunities, some based on what we do well now, and many more in what we want to become better in the near future.
Thank you so much, Francisco. A closing question for Leontine. What are we doing already at the moment? And can you tell us some more about that?
Thanks, Stephanie, and thanks, Francisco. Really interesting. Well, I would say in general, we have good contact with the different players in Chile, from the embassy, with the government, of course, businesses, associations, and knowledge institutions. And we have shared a great many times our ideas and the national vision on circular agriculture. And there is always a lot of interest from Chile to the developments in the Netherlands and vice versa. I think there's a very good match there. And as was mentioned also during the talk of Brenda, Rabobank is also involved in a big program with the Ministry of Chile about development of cooperatives, which led to the virtual visit of Minister Walker to the Netherlands a few weeks ago. So that was a very interesting exchange. Furthermore, we are looking into projects in the Agro-Water Nexus, because obviously in Chile that is very challenging. Also involving different parties from government, I'd say private sector and knowledge institutions, both from Chile and the Netherlands. And currently we have a small, a seed money project under development within the Netherlands top sectors, where a consortium of businesses and Wageningen research, as well as Chilean partners, are looking to develop a seed money project funded by the Netherlands government in order to improve various circular aspects within the food chain, as that is the biggest, one of the biggest connecting the both countries. And at the same time, we are very interested, and this is something we have discussed also with the Chilean ministry, if we could execute a pilot project regarding circular agriculture. We'd be highly interested in doing so. Also connecting Dutch, I would say, like technology solutions, both from research centers as well as businesses, to the Chilean context. And this is something that we are discussing as we go. So it's also an invitation to parties who would be interested in doing so. For instance, producers associations in Chile, which we also have contacts, to get in touch with us, and we'd be really looking forward to, together with the ministry, develop some type of pilot project in a particular region where we could well, see how in practice some of the experiences that we've had in the Netherlands. So,
hey, thank you. Thank you so much, Leontine and Francisco, for your views. We are very behind in time, but I see that the chat is very lively. Very good to see that our speakers are already answering some questions. So please keep doing that. Sorry, there's a fly here. Please keep doing that. Keep posting your questions. And for now, I want to give you an insight of with a compilation of 3 best practices we have in the Netherlands of circular economy in practice. And in the meantime, please ask your questions also to these companies because they're here as participants as well.
So we are here today at Schutpapier, and this is where we receive the tomato plant fibers from Wageningen University, and we take them to our machine together with some regular cellulose and turn it into a sheet of tomato plant paper.
By upcycling residual streams into paper, Schout paper would become less dependent on non-local fibers, which are becoming increasingly more expensive. Furthermore, the tomatoes themselves will be able to contribute to their own packaging.
So to get to that tomato fiber box, we need to make the paper first, or the cardboard. And as for dry strength, for wet strength, to make it printable. And we put them all here up this conveyor belt and going up to the pulper, where we basically make a paper soup. And with that soup, we bring it to the paper machine and we can produce the cardboard.
the Waste Transformers team is on a mission to ensure that food waste no longer goes to landfill, is no longer burnt, and therefore that there's no more greenhouse gas emissions based on food waste. And the way that we do that is on one of these babies, a waste transformer that I'm standing on right now. We realize our energy hubs in a way that is decentralized, that's local, that's close to home. We want to ensure that there's a waste transformer on every single street corner, at every airport, every train station, every hotel is able to really take responsibility for their own waste and generate value from that waste. The way that we do that is we process that organic waste inside our installations, we turn it into a biogas. That biogas can be used to create green energy. We also recover all the water, and at the same time, we recover all of the nutrients inside that waste and make a really rich compost. The way that we want to go to market is with something we call the business in a box. Meet Longile. Longile is one of our entrepreneurs in South Africa. Longile and his partners will run a number of waste transformers at various locations in and around Johannesburg. And we're there to support Longile in that process. We do that by providing him training, supporting him on the contractual side, and also supporting him with access to finance so that ultimately he will own his own installation, run that as a business, and at the same time be taking co-responsibility for keeping his part of the world clean. Our installations are modular, plug and play. They come certified. They have all of the certifications which are needed. They meet all very strict European health and safety standards, and we do that with a healthy business case.
Esto dará como resultado un suelo seco y puede provocar estrés en los cultivos. Por lo tanto, determinar el momento adecuado para el riego es muy crítico. Minimizar el riego puede conducir a la pérdida de producción de cultivos, pero maximizar el riego puede conducir a un desperdicio de recursos hídricos escasos. La pregunta sigue siendo ¿cuánta agua se debe regar? Tenemos la Nosotros medimos la humedad profunda del suelo mediante el uso de tecnología satelital. Los satélites pueden medir la temperatura de las hojas y los parámetros de cultivo relacionados. Si no hay suficiente agua disponible en las raíces, la temperatura de las hojas comienza a aumentar. Es el momento adecuado para el riego.
This goes up, and so it's the right moment for irrigation.
El mensaje de WhatsApp. Este mensaje le dice exactamente dónde y cuánta agua se necesita regar en sus campos.
Message is received, and it tells exactly where it has to be, where irrigation is necessary.
Evitando así el riego innecesario.
Thus avoiding unnecessary irrigation.
Para aplicar esta tecnología y
to apply this technology
de agua y los costos para
help with
la producción agrícola sostenible con una mayor productividad del agua.
For a better productivity and use of water.
Well, thank you very much. I'm informed by my colleagues in the, let me double check if you can hear me. Yeah, you can see me. Yeah, I'm informed by my colleagues that the questions in the chat and the Q&A are going very well. So for now, because of the time, I want to skip to closure and what's next. I think we saw a lot of interesting insights today and learned a lot about both the Netherlands and Chile today. With insights on the challenges Chile deals with to make serious steps towards a circular agro-food sector, but also practical solutions, examples, and inspiration that gets us motivated to start today and shows feasibility. This is where it starts. Not only is momentum today and shows not only is momentum today, both the Dutch entrepreneurs and also the Chilean parties show willingness just by being here today, with more than 70 people from both countries. I think this is fertile ground for the matchmaking we have upcoming January, and to look further how we can work together. Well, I just want to thank everyone for being here today, especially the speakers, but also the people behind the scenes for your contributions, of course. But I will give the floor now to Leontien for a formal closure and to talk about the next steps. Thank you, Leontien.
Thank you, Stephanie. I'm trying to get my video on. Could you help me?
We can hear you.
Yes, okay, that's fine. I don't need to be on the video, you're right. So thanks very much everybody for your participation. I think this has been a very rich and quite full, very interesting webinar, but it's not just a webinar. It's part, as Harman, our ambassador, mentioned, it's part of a mission program. There are 2 more webinars coming up. Tomorrow there is one on circular economy and plastics, and on the 16th, sorry, I'm mistaken. Tomorrow there's one on circular economy and water, and on the 16th there's another one on plastics, which also well, has a lot of connection with what we have discussed today in the food system. I think that'd be very interesting. And included in this particular program is also the option for participants, businesses in particular, to have matchmaking activities. And the embassy and the Holland House will get in touch with you as participants about this. Furthermore, if you have any interest in getting in touch either from Chile or from the Netherlands with particular players in the circular economy, please don't hesitate to get in touch with us. So everybody of you will receive an email, and based on that, you are most welcome to contact us, and we can see where we can put you in contact with relevant players, both in Chile as well as in the Netherlands. So with this, I would like to thank everybody for participating, all the speakers, and everybody. Also, thank you very much for being so active in the chat. That is very helpful. We will share the information of the webinar. It will be available also as a recorded video. So thanks very much, and with this, over to you, Stephanie, to wrap up and close.
Yes, to close, I will show you a video from our organizing partner, Invest Chile, and that will be the end of this this webinar. I saw a question in the chat about this webinar and if it will be visible afterwards. Yes, we will make sure that you can rewatch it. Download it, share it. So if you're a participant, we have your contact information, and we will share everything we have on it. Please enjoy the video. Well, last time, thank you to everybody who was here. Now we definitely close this webinar. You will receive an email or any form of information about this, this session, but also about what will happen afterwards. So for the last time, thank you very much. And maybe we see you in the next upcoming sessions as well. Thank you very much. Have a good afternoon. Have a good further morning. And hope to see you soon. Bye.